What's going on, guys? Sebastian here with Listen for Commands. It is Thursday, September 26th. I'm here with producer extraordinaire Brendan Tegetoff.
Take it off. Supposed to say it wrong.
I was supposed to say it wrong every time. Tegehoff. Tegehoff. I thought it was Tegehoff at first, honestly. All right. Anyway, on today's show, we are going to be talking about. I should learn how to do it. I should just script every intro. We are going to be talking about um, Gel, however you pronounce it, Balklin announcing he's cutting to 66
Oh yeah.
to run away from Perk. Um, well, we're going to be continuing to talk about Bob Matthews not going to Sheffield. And then we're going to talk a little bit about why I hate Sheffield. No, okay, all right. So let's actually start with the third topic. So I've been getting some criticism lately. People are like, why are you talking shit about Sheffield? Sheffield's amazing. Sheffield's the best thing ever. Blah blah blah. Sheffield's great. Don't give me don't get it twisted, guys. Okay, Sheffield is an awesome event. It's it's bringing powerlifting a step forward, right? So powerlifting has had prize money in the past, and then it's obviously Sheffield is more prize money, but it's not about the prize money, right? It's about having a well produced event. It's about having 2,200 people in the audience. It's about people traveling to go see powerlifting, right? It's great. It's inspired me to start working on my stuff. That does not make it immune to criticism. Okay, Sheffield is not Jesus Christ. Like it's not sinless, right? It has flaws, it has issues. And so I think a lot of this stems from powerlifting. There's a huge battle right now between feds, right? So we want to compare this fed to this fed. And I'm not really from the powerlifting world. I compare feds quite frequently, of course, but I really care. I don't care how good Powerlifting America is doing compared to the USAPL. It's great to drink their tears, but I care about how well powerlifting is doing relative to the next sport on the ladder, right? We should not aspire to be like the person next to us. We should aspire to be like the next sport up, right? We should aspire to be like the UFC. And that's good. You want to aspire to do great things. We're at this really weird place where if you're critical, it means you don't like, and like, yes, we're going to be critical. Like, we're media, like, I'm media now. We're going to be critical of what's happening, because we have the best interest of powerlifting at heart. Like, we're going to talk about the issues that are going on, and like where we're at and how we need to move forward to succeed. Um, so yeah, I got some criticism for that, because I said I don't think Sheffield's going to be sustainable. Guys, it's math, okay? It's a math problem. Like, I read that article. I mean, we need to let's post the article in like the comments
Description? Yeah, we could do
description.
that.
Yeah. So guys, I I always make a joke that I have. You ever see the meme where the guy's got math like floating around him? He's got like math symbols floating around him. So I have that for business. So I can like really, like, I've been doing business for a while. I can like look at something and kind of give a rough guess of what what a business is worth, right? Based on like any number of factors. And it's not super accurate, of course. There's all kinds of tricks that people can do in business and stuff to change valuation and stuff. I always thought SBD was like $100 million company. Okay. I thought they were huge. I thought they were a massive company. Okay. For a long time. Like, I thought they were enormous. Based on like my general guesstimation, international sales and stuff. So there's an article that comes out about SBD doing layoffs. It turns out their revenue was like $15 million, which, like, great, like, for those, or sorry, 15 million pounds, which is roughly 20 some $1 million. And so I'm like, okay, like, it's a lot less than I thought. But what was even more glaring is in this article is I didn't know. So in America, all that information about companies is not public. Like you don't know, like unless you're a publicly traded company, we don't know how much like A7 is worth. Like they don't have to publicly post that, or that's not publicly listed. Um, and for good reason, of course. Um, but they're making roughly 20 million, 2 million pounds in profit each year. And so to give you guys some context, the average single McDonald's location does like $8 million in revenue. A single location, $8 million in revenue, is something like a 20 to 25% operating margin. So the what I saw that was glaring from a business standpoint is this business is doing 15% profit margin, which is okay. It's pretty good, but they laid off 50 people, and so you can read through the article. It's all there. It's a reputable, and actually maybe I should reference some of this, because it should be a bigger talking point. We should be talking about this more, because they are a big part of the powerlifting. 69 roles have been placed at risk, and 54 redundancies were planned. The firm has 188 employees. It's a lot of employees, by the way. So typically, like I think the average American company has, I think, 2 employees per $1 million in revenue, something like that. Obviously, we have a lot of tech companies in America, and tech, obviously. Sales have been hit by the cost of living crisis, and jobs had to go.
So by that logic, I think that they'd have like 8 employees based on their net.
No, no, no. So basically, what I'm referencing is there's data that it used to be like for every $1 million in revenue, it would take 15 employees, and as technology has gotten better and better and better, you need fewer employees to make that same amount of money.
Right.
Like like I said, like a single McDonald's location actually probably McDonald's probably isn't a great example of this. Most tech companies don't take a lot of employees to generate $1 million in revenue. Um, 54, so 54 people got let go, but 69 have been placed on risk.
Is that inclusive of like the 54, do you think?
No, I think that's in addition to.
Oh man. See, that sounds like panic mode almost.
Well, no, no, no. So I mean, it's a really popular thing. No, listen, it's a really popular thing that when times get tough. I mean, so basically, here's what happens. So if times are really good, which they have been for the past, you know, decades, really. What you do is as you grow, growth happens really fast. And actually, growth can sometimes be more difficult to deal with than um, like a downswing. So when you grow, basically what you do is you like, I need this person, I need this, we need this, because you have to keep up with demand. The last thing you want to do is not fulfill sales. So what happens is you tend to get bloated, right? It's like a bolt gone wrong. Like you just eat a little too much and you get like bloat, and you just get too big. And so that's how companies tend to be. And so what happens is when things start to go wrong, that's when you start doing layoffs. And a lot of the times, like Elon Musk, famous, bought Twitter, and fired 80% of the workers. And if you haven't been on Twitter, it works pretty fine. So it's not like they could let all these people go and they could probably be fine as a company. But what it tells me is, it tells me that the writing is probably on the wall for Sheffield. Like it really is, because it's really bad taste to fire 54 people and then run a money losing powerlifting event, right? Because this may be I don't know, this is going to be controversial. So the first Sheffield was definitely good for the sport. First Sheffield was great, and it was great because it gave a platform for Jesus to do what he did, and that got people talking. right? I mean, I think even he was even mentioned on Rogan, right? And so that was great because it gave him a platform, all eyes were on him, and then it led to his performance. Similar to that, you could think about SBD Raleigh from this year, where they had that event, and then Joe
Joe.
Bornstein he did exactly. So there's a lot of parallel there, and so the athlete's performance made the event as opposed to the event. If Jesus doesn't do what he does, I mean, there might not be another Sheffield, but
Hmm.
that performance did it, and that's why this year Sheffield was a letdown, right? This year Sheffield was a letdown because Jesus didn't perform. I mean, had he pulled that last deadlift, though, I mean, there are some things there, but that performance didn't happen, and so because the whole, like I've argued before, when you make your entire sport about performances and then the performances get let down, you kind of lose. Where I advocate, we need to make it more about a competition, right?
Right.
And like every other sport, I'm not unique in my thinking. My thinking is not unique. It's just copying. It's
And
paralleling
that avenue would be way more beneficial for like live viewership because like people will talk about a performance after it happened because it will like accumulate this notoriety. But like you can't go, most people don't go into a broadcast expecting a performance, like especially with like Joe. I don't think many people really thought he was going to win Rally.
No, so Joe had a lot of hype going into junior nats, but then he got hurt, and so people really didn't have crazy expectations for him going into rally. But then he ended up performing as he should, right? And so people were, yeah, that's interesting. I'm trying to think. So like people, the problem, I guess the premier problem with rally was that it was at like 3 in the afternoon on a Saturday. If that had been at night, it probably would have been a lot more talked about because a lot more people are like sitting around on their phone. Like there's a reason
That's exactly what I was doing. I was at MPG just like you were talking to like a customer and I was sitting there watching Joe pull like to win or whatever.
that's easy stuff to fix in powerlifting. Like every event needs to be at 7 p.m. or 8 7 central, 8 p.m. Eastern. Like every other, there's a dude. We don't have to reinvent. We can't reinvent the wheel. Okay,
Mhm.
they have research. That's why every event starts at 7 because people get home from work and they settle in and they watch their shit. Like, oh, anyway, enough on the stupidity of powerlifting. Let's yeah, let's continue along. So we were talking about, yeah. So again, just because you run a really cool event does not make you immune from criticism, right? Like we're going to criticize you when you don't fly out a top three talent to compete. Um, like,
Yeah, that was a big one for sure.
yeah.
That's something that's like unheard of in any other sport I've followed. Just because of like a sponsorship thing.
I gotta. It's not unprecedented. I got to imagine there's other situations. Well, so we can listen. It's one of those things where does SBD have to do? So here, okay. Let's talk about how other sports operate, and then we can, and then we just need it needs context. How other sports operate is I'm trying to think of other sports in the same.
You maybe do like
I
golf.
consider this situation unique because it's so unique because in other sports a company doesn't run the de facto championship of the sport. Like they may run events, like smaller events, but they like Nike is not running the Super Bowl. Like it's like the FedEx Cup. I think it's the FedEx Cup that's still the championship of golf. Well, the
Hmm.
tour championship is sponsored by someone, and like I just there's so many weird things that go into play with this stuff. Like just so many weird scenarios and situations that go into this. There's obviously case A. Case A is that Bob is just bluffing to like psych people out. That's A. Um, because I just don't. He's a top three guy, so like I don't understand how his sponsors and the people around him and his circle don't find a way to get him there because he could win a lot of money. I assume he's going to set a lot of the 120 or 105 records, um, and then potentially win. So I mean, he could make. I guess maybe they've done the math and they're like, I don't. And then they got to wait for the drug test to come back too. So he's not going to get that money immediately. But yeah, I'm trying to think of the different. Like if it was a different sport, if it was a different event, like I think what you do is maybe you do something like if I'm SBD, what I do is I do this, and this would just be good PR. If I'm SBD, I go, hey, here's the deal. We're going to cover your travel, right? Like you were any other athlete. And then in exchange, whatever prize money you win, we're going to deduct the travel expenses from the prize money you win. That is a totally fair compromise. Like that's totally fair. And then if he and then SBD, you want him to show up because he's going to bring eyeballs in some way, whether or not he's wearing your kit or not. You look good. It's just good PR. Like you look like a good company. And then you're basically getting an advantage from that. And then you just say, hey, we're just going to deduct it from the prize money you win. Is that fair, Bob? And then now, if Bob says no and he's just being dramatic, then you can be like, sorry, we did what we could. And then now you look good. But like now you look bad because you're not listen, no one Bob is not entitled to have SPD pay their travel. What I'm saying is SPD, you're running the championship of powerlifting right now, so you kind of just have to do that because you're entrusted with that. So yeah, that's my take, and actually that's a pretty good solution. Clip it, clip it. Cover
I
the
mean,
travel.
like it's like also I forgot what company is he sponsored by? What's his like main sponsor?
I
Is
think he's got.
it
I think he's stoic.
Stoic, right? So like
So
I think that there's the most in it for them. They need him to go to like this SBD sponsored event with like a Stoic cake. I feel like
that's what I'm saying. I would get stoic tattooed on my forehead, and like like
that's exactly what they need. I have no idea why they wouldn't invest a couple thousand just to have him travel there. But I don't know. I'm not the business mastermind, so I'm not going to speak on it. But
yeah. Well, that's why. That's honestly why I like. Sometimes I'm just like, this is just a psyop. Like this is just like him playing games.
hmm,
Like, or maybe it's like one of those. Hey, I need help to travel, or I need help to cover the travel costs. But like, I do that shit privately, dude. I go to my sponsors and I go, hey, like, hey, I need you to cover my travel. Like that's what sponsors are for. I don't know. I'm trying. I might. I'm not quite. We don't quite have the platform where I can like slide in DMs and ask questions and stuff. I might have to just to
hmm.
figure out like what the dealio is because we keep talking about it. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
no.
to summarize, Sheffield good needs work. Like I said, like okay, here let's continue on my critiques of Sheffield because it'll be a talking point. Like good. What's good about Sheffield? Okay, um, great like crowd, good. Any crowd in powerlifting is good. Production, the live stream is pretty good. They need new play by. We everyone agrees we need professional play by play people. We need professional broadcasters to do these events. You hire professional broadcasters, dude. I made a fucking I follow this broadcast. He does the Clippers play by play on the radio. He does really good content stuff. He's a younger guy. And I made a post saying I would love for him to do an event. He slid in my DMs and said, I'd love to do a powerlifting meet. Some of my friends are powerlifters. I'm like, it's it's not always going to be that easy, but like one event, you can give the guy $1,000, fly him out, get a professional broadcaster. And what's so valuable about bringing a professional broadcaster in is they can help teach everyone else how things are done over there, right? Like we don't have to continue to like pretend like we just have yeah we need adjustments on that end. Um, the meets at 9 a.m. in the morning in America, and that's I don't. I've heard that Americans aren't a majority of the audience, but I got to imagine if you tried to, Americans are pretty sports rabid. If you tried to get them to watch, they would. Um,
It's
and
true.
then, yeah, and then the event's too long. Obviously, 5 hours is too long for a sporting event. You need to cut it 2 days. So someone said like so you can do two ways. You do men and women on separate days. I wouldn't do that because frankly, it's that you think the IPF fucking the coaching course was a big deal. When you look at when the viewership gets split between the
Mm.
2 days, you don't want that. So what you do is you do the lightweight classes and the heavyweight classes. Um, and it'll probably still skew towards the heavyweight side, but at least it's not gonna like create a tantrum. Um,
Yeah. I mean, it would definitely alleviate that need because it is a need. It's got to be like 3 hours max.
yeah, 3 hours is still too long because here's what happens. So all these other sports that are about 3 something hours long have a legacy to them, right? They have a tradition. And so powerlifting doesn't have a legacy or a tradition to it. And so people aren't going to, if you want to get new people involved, you have to make it like, you have to make it even more enticing than a normal sport. So how you do that is you continue to do things differently by like making your events even shorter. I think 2 to 2.5 hours is perfect. I think if every event falls inside that chasm, you're great because you do like your hour tailgate and stuff, your couple hour tailgate leading up to it, enjoy time with friends, and then you go into the meet, watch the meet, hang out, dip, have a great time. Um, yeah, that's what I'd like to see two separate nights. Obviously that talk about they're laying people off and everything's so more expensive. Now you got to spend more on the venue, but you get to set it up only once. Like that's so you know what the problem is. I was just thinking the problem is if okay, so if you split it into men's and women's nights, you're going to run into problems there. But then if you split into weight classes, you're also going to have the issue of like handing out awards. So like the heavyweight people are going to have the advantage being on the second day, knowing kind of what they have to pull. I guess they know what they need to pull anyway because they're going last. But I guess they know what they need to hit on each lift, so they will get an inherent advantage. Okay, so it does have to be separate gender days. That's fine. More people are gonna watch the women anyway, right? Because more people want to watch women's sports. So it'll be yeah, that's pretty much or I mean uh, I think you just cut the number of competitors. I think that's a better solution.
From 24 to like, what are we thinking?
16, just kill the wild cards. Get rid of the
Hmm.
wild card. Yeah, that would be fine. And then you
Think they
just take
could swing that.
the top two in each weight class.
Hmm.
That's fine. Um yeah, 12 to 16 is probably the optimal number for an event as a whole. Um, yeah, I think that's fine. Trying to think what else. I mean, I would stop self-producing the broadcast. I know they love that. I know they love that, but I mean, I would hire a professional. Like, I would sell the fucking rights. I'd
Hmm.
sell the rights for like a penny, and then just let them handle it, and then you can get data, and then you can go from there. Um, It's gonna get some viewership, so it'll be fine. I mean, I would just go to a streaming service like we talked about before. So how I'm gonna be doing stuff with all my stuff is um, I've been developing a platform called Lifting Stream. So Lifting Stream is a subscription video service for powerlifting. So basically, you'll pay like $10 a month. It's like Netflix, probably even less than that at the beginning, probably like $6 a month. All right, we are back from technical difficulties. I think I have a green screen now. Brendan doesn't. We got, yeah. Like, I was watching Good Morning Football, and they had Derrick Henry on, and he had like a floating type background, and so I'm like, we need to. You know what it is? He's got a real green screen, so
Hmm.
that's what we need. The green screen will make it look further into the back. Okay,
Right.
awesome.
I do
We
have a green screen.
we do this podcast. Well, I have a green screen too, so I can just bring it. I could literally put it just behind my fucking seat where I'm at, um, in my apartment. All right. Anyway, so we were talking about my new streaming platform I'm working on. I think it'll be a very interesting addition to our ecosystem. So the problem right now is there's a couple of ways you can monetize sports rights, and this is going into the conversation of things we would fix from Sheffield. So putting putting a broadcast out for free on YouTube is about the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Like, it's the dumbest thing ever. Okay, so here, I understand you want to quote grow the sport. And so I say in quotes because a lot of people say that and they don't really know what that means. So they want to grow the sport. So you want to make it as accessible to as many people as possible to learn about it. That's totally fair. I would argue the sport is already pretty accessible considering just about everyone has a gym that's about $10 a month they can work out at. I'm pretty sure gyms are fairly accessible. Um, but I guess people are making the argument that to watch the sport it should be really accessible. The problem is that if you give something away for free, you make no money. Okay. Now, there's an argument to be made that you can just keep giving stuff away for free for a long enough period of time. You can eventually start charging for it. But that's been the problem. The historical problem with powerlifting is that people have given away stuff for free for a long period of time and have not gotten anything back from it. And so now people have this expectation that powerlifting is just supposed to be fucking free. And so we can't make any money on it. And so if you can't make any money, you can't grow, you know? And this is a bigger topic. And this is one, hopefully, who's ever listening, I can educate. Even if this will help you in any sort of business if you're listening. For the 5 people who are listening, the reason
For now.
you need to make profits in your business. Let's say you spend 75% of your money on expenses and you make 25% profit. You can take that 25% and you can reinvest that money into new stuff to make it better. If you make 1% profit or 0% profit, you have no new money to invest on making your stuff better. It's essential for anything in powerlifting that it become profitable because we can reinvest and make it better. The problem right now with Sheffield, going into Sheffield's problems, is that it operates on a net loss. So if it grows every year, it's still operating at a loss. So basically what SPD does is they take their money from SPD, they put it into the event. The event makes some money from tickets and some money from all these other things. And maybe they have this broad plan that they're going to sell the rights like 2 or 3 years down the road. They'll sell the rights to a network for this one event, and then the event will suddenly become profitable. Not the worst strategy. I think with 35,000 average viewers, you're going to have a hard time monetizing that, but okay. I would much rather charge the 35,000. I mean, I would much rather charge. I mean, it's more than 30. So 35,000 is the average number of viewers. The total viewership is, I'd love to get this number. Probably, oh, 100,000, maybe 100,000 different viewers. If you can get $1 out of 100,000 people, that's pretty like that's what I would do. I would charge $5 for the Sheffield live stream. Why not?
Why
UFC
not?
charges $5. And like arguably Sheffield is a more unique product than the UFC because the UFC has 40 events every year. Sheffield's got one. Yeah, they're fucking up, man. Charge $10. Who cares? If viewership drops in half, you're still making fucking what, $500,000? Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with this stupid sport.
Uh, the numbers, it's
Okay, wait.
only
If you don't want to do that, that's fine. You don't want to charge. You don't want to do a pay-per-view. You don't want to go down that road. That's fine. I don't think we need to go down that road either. Sell fucking ad time, bro. Sell ads. Like I guess the argument is that SBD is the one this is their ad. They literally turned down a fucking Draft Kings partnership because they didn't want any other logos in the background. So I mean, that's another criticism. You didn't hear that from me.
I didn't know that, but
Yeah.
this is
Well, you
like
do now. You do now. That's the craziest fucking. Now, I heard that it wasn't just them. I heard the IPF got involved in shutting that down. So story time. I guess we'll tell this story. Fuck it. I was there. I was the one who came up with it. So I send an email to DraftKings. I'm like, hey, I've got this thing I'm working on. Blah blah blah. I'm just curious. Like, what can we do? Like, what? How does it work? I'm just curious. This guy, within like minutes, fires back to me, goes, yeah, absolutely. We love new ideas. We always want to do new ideas. We have an open door policy at DraftKings, blah, blah, blah. So this guy gets me on a Zoom and we talk and talk and talk and talk. We talk for like an hour, hour and a half. And he's like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. This is so cool. Like we actually have a lot of free time here because they only work with like major sports and stuff. And so like they have a lot of like opportunities and stuff. So they're like, yeah, we can't do sports betting just yet because of the regulations, but we can do a free to play contest for you. And so a free to play contest is basically we put up a prize pool and then you have to answer like 10 questions about Momo, stop.
cat cameo. Always good for the
mattress. Oh, is that my charger or my mattress?
cat intermission.
No, oh, never mind. We're fine. He's playing with the cord. That's fine. I'd rather him play with the cord than my mattress. Anyway, cat meow. Don't look at me like that. Okay. Anyway, like I was saying, get me back on track. I was talking
It was
about
the DraftKings guy who you
oh
had
the
in mind.
Draft story. Yeah. So uh we email back and forth, we correspond. They want to set up this thing. It's expensive to set up, but it'd be well worth it. So basically, you set up this thing, you pay, and then it gets to. So he fires me one day. He's like, it's been maybe a couple days between emails. He fires me. He goes, "Hey, would you be interested in streaming DraftKings? We're still coming out with our own network that we want to stream on." I'm like, yeah, duh. So we go back and forth, we talk about it, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, hey, we're gonna be in Chicago. Let's have a meeting. So I immediately like contact PA. I'm like, we've got this crazy opportunity, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to come? So we go out, we go to the city, we have this meeting, and we meet with the DraftKings people, we talk. It was a great meeting. A little bit of a goofy meeting for sure, but we had this meeting and everything went pretty well. And so in the meeting, they asked us, "Hey, what's your premier event?" And we're like, "Well, right now it's Sheffield." Now this was me in the beginning of the Pro Duel stuff. So the Pro Duel didn't even really exist, so I'm not pitching them the Pro Duel. So I pitched them Sheffield, and that's my biggest regret is not just continuing to. I could have easily gone down the line with the Pro Duel stuff, and it would have been it would have changed powerlifting forever. I will regret that forever because had it been a DraftKings partnership, on the DraftKings network, the Pro Duel streamed there, I would have been able to line everything up correctly. And so because I wasn't able to line everything up, it kind of just it all fizzled. And so I'm like, I was just doing it for the good of piloting. I'm like, hey, like let's, I thought it was a great opportunity. Hey, I'm going to give this event to we're going to give this event to SBD. SBD is going to love this. Oh my gosh, a big company getting involved with powerlifting. Turns out that just wasn't the case.
Mm.
Uh, and so actually,
Mm.
anyways, so we get done with all that. They send me a follow up email. I forward that email over to the people in charge. Dude, I get so, and that's when I'll give them some credit. Basically, that's when the CBS Sports deal was going down, and so at the same time as they were doing CBS Sports, this was happening, and so CBS Sports. When I heard it, I was like, "Oh, great, CBS Sports, no big deal." But it turns out that the CBS Sports deal was a whack deal, and they paid for airtime, and it was nuts. Um, yeah, that's the basic story of how we almost got a DraftKings sponsorship in powerlifting, and it got killed. And that's another. I mean, obviously, that's my big gripe about um, um, that. So because of that, I really after that whole situation, I'm like, yo, I'm out. Like, I'll go do my own thing. Like, you guys clearly don't know. And I'm very supportive of Powerlift America and the IPF because they're going to be like governing a lot of the local level competition type stuff and the international stuff. But as far as like the pro stuff, there's no path forward in terms of professional. I mean, this isn't going to be like soccer where people are going to want to like rah rah for their country. It's not just not that type of sport. I don't think. But anyway, that's that story.
I still
Um,
can't believe you didn't pitch the Pro Duel. That's so
no, I mean,
unlike you.
no, we were. I was pitching the Pro Duel, but the Pro Duel didn't even exist when that was going on.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, like the Pro Duel didn't exist when that was going on. So I can't like pitch them something that doesn't like. I'd rather pitch them something that's already happened that was successful. And so this was also so. I vividly remember that during that conversation. Stop. He's messing with the screen. The screen to get outside.
Mm.
So I vividly remember having a conversation with someone in charge at PA, and they were like, Sheffield got 250,000 views this year. It's likely going to get 500,000 views next year. We got 16 million views on Eurosport, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, that's where powerlifting was trending. It was like I think everyone was just like, oh, it's just gonna keep going. And so the problem is it didn't. We lost the the Olympic YouTube channel, which was huge. Losing that was crazy. Everything moved to CBS Sports, but they decided that they would do bench worlds on CBS Sports. Um, and it's just a lot of just not not everything didn't work the way I think everyone thought it was. I don't necessarily blame them. I think not everything worked the way they thought it was. And hopefully they still don't think that. Hopefully they're still not in their brain like, oh, we're just going to keep going down this path. Hopefully they decide. I mean, obviously we talk about a lot. The biggest issues we don't have enough content. Like kind of transitioning here. Kjell Beckland of Norway just announced that he got a Sheffield wild card, um, and he announced that he's moving down to 66 from 74. Now, this is super interesting because if he does like anything close to what he's capable of doing at 66, he's going to beat Perk unless Perk just goes completely crazy. Um, and so it really has brought up for me a lot of questions about one, the process of wild cards, and I guess the idea of just switching between weight classes willy nilly is kind of a thing, and I'm curious why. I'm just trying to think of other sports parallels where like you would be able to qualify at one weight class and then cut down to another.
Well, the only other thing I could think of is like wrestling and UFC that do the weight classes.
Right. And so in the UFC, I you can obviously go change weight classes at any time. Like a lot of times, like you'll see a guy who's the light who's the light heavyweight champion, um, like go down um and fight the like the middleweight champion or whatever. Um, and you'll see that. But you've got a case where you've got a guy. I tried to, it's not really an exact parallel to UFC. So you've got, I, I think this is the closest parallel. It's not an exact parallel, but this is the closest parallel. Closest parallel is this: you have a heavyweight fighter who lost who lost to the current heavyweight champion. And he says, you know what? I'm going down to light heavyweight. And the heavyweight's only option in order to beat him is to also cut down there. Because of how that would be like the UFC having a rule that said that if someone else cuts down and goes to that weight class, that you have to follow them, or you have to like, yeah, I don't like it. I don't like the whole idea of it. I think it adds parity, which is like, and it adds intrigue to the sport, which I guess is like from my theory is a good thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's like it's good from that. So like I'm not anti it. I just think it's really like it's slimy that he could lose, not even hit the qualifying like numbers, get in as a wild card, change weight classes because the total world record is so much lower, win that way. It's like such a convoluted way to win. It reminds me of the and this may be the meme I'll make. There's a woman who qualified for the Olympics. Do you ever see the skier? She's a skier, and it's a hilarious YouTube story. She's a skier, and basically there's like 40 or 50 qualifying events. And some of them don't have enough athletes in them to where you can get like a couple points. So like you get 15 points for first, 7 for second, and there's not enough competitors. So she went to like 40 different events and got like 1 point in each of these events just for finishing. Because like if you don't finish, like you don't get any points. So those people scored zeros. So this woman managed to qualify for the Olympics through this like crazy process, like crazy coincidental process. And so that's what this feels like. This feels like, now for fans, I think it's great. But if you're like Perk and you're like, what? Like, it's a crazy process. And so
it kind of does like garner some hype for the off-season process and like the whole training process and maybe the event
that's
itself.
why I'm saying that's why I like this topic, because like, well, I want to like be like, wow, that's fucked up, because I think the wild card process is fucked up.
You can still do that. You can
I
still
can't
do
help
that.
it as a fan, but be like, ooh, this is interesting, intrigue. So between Bob Matthews not doing it and then this guy switching weight, I mean, you've got a lot. You're creating like this is like that's like Dana White ass like storylines like within this event. Now,
Right.
all I said was they need to suit up tomorrow and compete. Like, stop fucking. We're gonna fuck around for the next 5 months.
Yeah.
So you lose all the buzz. Like, there's no buzz. Like, oh, five. I mean, there will be buzz, but it's like you mess around for 5 months and then you gotta Yeah, that, I don't know how
That
I feel.
part is that part is definitely unfortunate. Like I'll go around MPG and I'll hear kids talking about, like all the drama that's going on with like all this competitors at Sheffield. And I'm like, man, I love this, but it's like the event is not gonna happen for another 5 months. So we're just gonna be like, oh, like, oh, dude, I can't use the word I wanted to use, but like we're gonna be on the edge of our seats waiting for this event.
Right. And so obviously that's one of my other critiques is that it kind of bottles everything up. So like let's say someone wanted to run an event like from between now and Sheffield, like you're not going to get anyone. Everyone's going to be like a hermit crab in
Right.
there, and so the nature of the sport combined with those kind of things does change the calculus for sure. Um,
Yeah, it's a good point.
yeah, but I don't. Yeah, that's super interesting.
And then
Uh,
just another random tangent that I was wondering myself. Last year, the total number of views for Sheffield was 360K. But like we've already discussed, it's like the views are kind of like uh I don't know what word you want to use. It's kind of like artificial in a way because, a lot of people tune in, tune
oh yeah,
out.
yeah. Listen. So a view is anyone, and YouTube is anyone who watches for more than 30 seconds. So that's a view.
Yeah,
Bang.
so it's like a bunch of people going in and
Right. So
going
like I've
out.
I've gone back and watched Sheffield probably 10, 15, like in parts, 10 or 15 times.
Exactly. And that counts as one view. So 360. It did go up from 2023, which was I believe
300.
it's
Yeah, I think 300.
300K, yeah. So not too bad.
Right
I
now
don't
it's a
know which
20%, it's a 20% increase in views,
right.
which is good. I'm just curious what the monet. So again, I've made this analogy before. Okay. Let's say you put Sheffield in the United Center and you sell 20,000 tickets, right? Let's say you do that. Okay. And I mean, I don't know what your average ticket's going to be. Your average ticket's 50, let's say it's $50. Okay.
Okay.
So so that's $1 million. Okay. With all the associated costs with that, it's still not enough to cover the cost of like half the price. Like it only covers half the prize pool.
Hmm.
And so um I imagine the cost of running an event at the United Center. I mean, I imagine you're probably not. I'm curious what it's got to be probably 400,000 to run an event. So you're probably taking home 600,000, and then you got to do all these associate, and then you got to pay the athletes too.
Pay for
The
their
point is,
travel.
the point is, you can make money. There's lots of money to be made, but you have to run more than one event, right? Like a
Yeah,
single,
exactly.
like the margin on a single event is not going to be anything crazy. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
the margin on like you're going to be making 20% margins on your events. Like, and so if it costs you $1 million to run, you're going to make a million. Like,
Like I could pull out a number for the athletes at Sheffield. It's like it'd cost, what is it, like 60K just for athletes travel to get them out there. There's so many expenses that go
oh,
into
right,
it.
right, right. Yeah. I mean, I guess I didn't think so. You had 24 athletes. I mean, you got some coming from, you're probably like looking at 5K an athlete.
Oh,
Um,
5K. Okay, that's double than we would do like 120,000.
so yeah, 120,000 athlete travel. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
was
that's,
lowballing.
yeah. I mean, there's any number of issues with particularly how things, oh my gosh. Yeah. Fuck. I never put that into my equations. That's
It's
crazy. I always got to like bad numbers before I even put that in. So I was like, it's bad.
Well, that wouldn't be as much of a problem if we did one like hypothetically in the United Center, but if we're going Sheffield, UK, it's gonna be like 100,000, like you said.
Right. Because some people are going to be like the people coming from New Zealand are going to be like closer to 10. And then
Mm.
some of them are in England, so they're not going to be as wow, 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 wow.
So it's kind of hard to sit here and not think about how likely it is that the event went negative.
Oh, of
It's
course. I
like,
mean, like no one thinks it is positive because remember, it's the whole point of the event is it's a big ad for SBD. Like that's the whole idea of the event. And like
mhm.
we talked about before, I mean, originally they wanted to put Sheffield with the Arnold, which makes sense. You would run it in March at the Arnold, big sports festival, just like the Arnold Classic. All the fans are already there. It's in America, it's domestic. You bring all the athletes out. And then Worlds is what? March, April, May, June, July. So our Worlds is 5 months later. It's a perfect little schedule. So really that's probably the future. The future is probably you go Arnold, because I bet you the Arnold would. I'm not sure how it exactly works, but I bet you the Arnold would give you money to. I mean, SPD is a big sponsor of the Strongman Arnold and stuff too. So
The Arnold is just like, oh man, I don't even know if I want to ask, but it's like it's just we're
Arnold,
talking about like just Schwarzenegger. Is it just like his? Does he have like a company?
yeah, it's his. It's the largest sports festival in the world.
So he
It's in,
could,
yeah, it's massive.
so they have, they have a little bit more leverage
Oh,
than
so
SVD.
USAPL is doing an event at the Arnold this year.
Mhm.
That's been their thing for a long time.
It's a pretty good step for them.
No, they've been doing that for a decade.
Mm.
Yeah, that's their big event. Bro, we gotta get you educated on the on the power.
Educated.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, no, I just asked.
The thing, man. That used to be the thing. Like if you didn't go
Yeah.
to Worlds, you went to the Arnold. Like
Yeah, no, I was just like making sure that there wasn't like a third party kind of people
so,
like,
it is. So Arnold is obviously engaged with it, but there's literally a festival company that runs it.
yeah, yeah, that's what I was
And
asking.
that's what you kind of want.
Right. So I was just wondering like how much leverage that they had money wise.
Well, so anytime you're an exhibitor at one of these expos, I don't think you actually have to pay that much because you theoretically attract a crowd and those people pay for wristbands, and so it's all just good for the event. I think
Hmm.
I want to hypothesize that that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and that's like another factor that I always forget. Like you brought up just a second ago, SBD, the whole event, Sheffield, could be rendered as just like a whole advertisement for them. And I always forget it's like, oh my gosh, it's so obviously negative. But then you have to take into account all the stuff that like the ads that you can't the advertisements and transactional sales that you can't actually have has a real number. Like you can't prove
Right.
that somebody bought SBD equipment because of Sheffield. So it's like it's
No,
really
no, but
hard
what
to.
you can do is this. So here's what you do. So a lot of people don't, most people don't understand advertising. So this is what you do. So you can via test group determine how many. So basically, you have something called impressions. Impressions are the number of times someone sees something. And so every time 1,000 people see something, a certain percentage of them are going to click on an ad or are going to visit a website or whatever. And then
Mhm.
from that, a certain percentage of those people are going to purchase something. And then what you can do is you have this data, you can determine what's called the lifetime value of that customer. So if I acquire a customer, that's called the cost to acquire a customer. If I acquire a customer, that customer is worth $700. right? And then you take the average length of the customer times the average order size, and you can determine the lifetime value of the customer. And then what you can do is you can determine from that, if I run an event like this, I'm going to get 10 million impressions. And because I get 10 million impressions, X number of people are going to go to my website, X number of people are going to make a purchase. So you can actually, if you just know the total gross number of impressions,
You could quantify it.
You can know exactly how much you can calculate all that stuff. And whether or not they're doing that, it doesn't matter. So I the problem is when you start to read articles like we read, and it says they're losing money, it's not working, right? Like you're losing money, you're not making a return on investment. And like I said, I thought they were a much bigger company than they actually are, and so my math was always a little off. When I was like, oh, they're doing this and that. Um, so yeah, it's very interesting what that's gonna do. Anyway, I think that's it. That's all I really want to talk about. What's coming up? So coming up, I've got to meet at the end of the month, the Boo Bash. Nothing too crazy there, just a kind of pretty basic local meet. Um,
It's pretty big
I,
around here for those of you who don't listen to the podcast in Illinois. Everybody kind of looks forward to the Boo Bash. It's a nice one. I'll be there showing up. Should be fun for
yeah, no,
anyone
I
who is
no.
listening to
So
this in the
so
area.
so for those of you who don't know, or don't know, I really haven't. I don't think I've talked about this a lot. It's more of a bit what I've been working on. So I like to look at powerlifting like a big landscape, like a big wide like thing, right? I like to look at it as just a whole, and so I'm trying to figure out where everything fits into the puzzle. So there's a couple things you want. One, how do you I want to create events for different people. Okay. So the type of event I want to create at the local level is an event where it's a low cost, low frills event where people come and they do a meet for the experience, right? It's for fun, right? It's not anything serious. It's just for fun. So that's the local level. That's what I believe is the future, and that's an unsanctioned event. I don't think it's going to be like a Powerlifting America thing. I don't think it's going to be any federation because you don't want people to have to buy a membership. Like it gets confusing. You pay one fee to show up, you compete. It's probably something like where it's like the sanction is outside of the it's like so what I theorize is there'll be like a third party that will provide like a rubric for how you run these events, and then people will like run events under that banner, and like maybe they'll take a percent, like a franchise type thing, just to
Hmm.
uphold standards and stuff, just so people have a general like place 60 or something like the NFL has.
Right.
Then there's one tier up. One tier up is they're more expensive meets, they're higher production, and some of that money goes into a prize pool, right? And that will create a bigger event, like we have now. That's basically how the current system works. The current system is you pay to play. Well, how I want to do it is if you're going to pay to play, I want to put some money involved in that. So that's kind of the step two. Step three is the pro level. The pro level is where we pay you as an athlete to come compete because people are going to come watch and people are going to buy tickets and they're going to buy beer and stuff and they're going to watch on TV and stuff. And so there's going to be three tiers of powerlifting competitions. I'm going to start to obviously continue to work on that vision. I really don't see anything else mixed in there. I think the idea of like it's really weird that there's that like local, state, regional national level. Like that's kind of cool, but I don't think it's really practical. Because people are gonna pay and they're gonna have to pay for travel and they pay for all this dumb stuff. So yeah, not really into that so much. But anyway, that's my thoughts. Maybe we'll do a podcast on that. We'll make because I want to do like current events at the beginning and then do a topic every day.
Right.
But yeah, anyway, that was Listen for Commands. I got to get back to the home store.
Hmm.
Call us out, Brendan.
Oh, give us the outro. Oh man, I'm so excited. First time in like forever. That has been Listen
Always
for
kick the
Commands.
outro deal.
That has been Listen for Commands. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we appreciate all of you, whether you come from Instagram, whatever, wherever we post our reels.
Subscribe
We're
on
posting a
YouTube.
lot of, yeah, subscribe. That's a big one. We've got a new show platform. We've got every single new show page and a new YouTube as well. So we've got some really exciting stuff planned here. I'm gonna have a lot of scheduled stuff out. Um, but yeah, thank you guys as always. And it's been Brendan and Seabass, the usual. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Peace.